All right, guys, we're to the last week of the public school regular season. The private schools are starting the playoffs, and it's time for Talking Preps. All right, Randall, take it away. Who are your Randall's Rock Stars of the week? Randall,
Team
are you with?
before. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. First off, we're going to start with Ashanti Taylor over at Porter Ridge. She had 32 points versus Cupperson this week. Next on the list is Kaylee Carson at Independence. She had 21 points and 8 steals versus East Meck. Kiara Anderson at East Lincoln averaged 24 and a half points, 7 rebounds, and 3.5 assists last week and 2 wins for East Lincoln. Elle Stone had 20 points and 10 rebounds and 6 steals in a win over Huff on Friday night. And last but certainly not least, Jaron Truesdale at Myers Park. Jaron had 21 points and 13 rebounds against Audrey Kell Tuesday and followed that up with a 20-point performance versus Olympic.
All right, well, Jaron, we got you on the show. Talk about the season you guys are having, just one loss. What's that been like?
It's been pretty good for us. We're moving forward. We've had a couple of games where it hasn't really felt like wins, but we've been doing pretty good as a team as long as we continue to be coachable and play together as a team and listen to our coaches. I feel like we can go pretty far.
I want to ask you, what's it like playing for Barbara Nelson? I mean, she's one of the best coaches in North Carolina history. We had one of your teammates on here last year that called us something we won't repeat. But what's it like playing for Barbara Nelson, and what makes her special?
It's really good playing for her. It could be really crazy at times, but I don't. Her personality, she's just like a fireball, and she's from she's very country, so like anything that she says is always with an accent. But she has a really good heart, so anything that she says is always with love and very much affection.
What do you think makes her such a good coach?
With the years of experience, I think she said she's been coaching for 30 plus years. She's coached college and she's coached at different high schools and she's coached like AAU. So I really think it's her experience and how she takes the time to learn her players as individuals and not just as players.
Jaron, you're in the final stages of your senior season. Can you talk about what it's like for you mentally as you prepare for this final stretch of the season?
Mentally, it's one of those um, I would say it's kind of like getting it done or not getting it done. So always in the back of my head, it's like you got to do good. You have to perform well. You have to help your teammates at all times, no matter if I'm on the bench because I'm in foul trouble or any type of situation. I have to always be there for my teammates. I have to always be that leader for my teammates because I know a lot of them look up to me as their leader.
Yeah, Jaron, you guys are, we talk a lot on this show about independence and Catholic and Huff. I mean, Malik Creek. Do you guys kind of feel like a little bit disrespected sitting there at 21, 22 and 1, whatever it is, and to talk about everybody else?
Just a tad bit, but not much because we know that we're getting slept on, but we know we're coming up there. So whenever it's our time, it's our time.
All right. Well, it's going to be your time pretty soon as we get to the playoffs. But thanks for joining us, okay?
Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care. That is Jaron Truesdale of Myers Park. Randall, you mentioned Kiara Anderson of East Lincoln. She's on every time I look in the score list, she's got 25 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds. And her teammate Emma Molinari is also having a big season. East Lincoln got to the, I think, regional championship game last year.
Yeah,
How good is this duo? Is this one of the best duos in the state?
it's one of the best duos, and it's definitely one of the best duos that I've seen in a long time. Um, those two, and also El Stone, who's on this list. El Stone, Lily Booker, that combination is a very good one too.
Mhm.
But I think that one up in East Lincoln is one that can definitely um, get that team, into a deep playoff run.
Speaking of Elle Stone, I mean, I know her numbers don't always, these numbers do, but her numbers don't always jump out at you. But she makes more winning plays, I think, than any girl that I've watched. I've been watching a lot of girls basketball lately, but she just makes winning plays. And when she's healthy, Malik Creek is on a
Yeah,
different.
And I think that's the biggest thing, and I think that's the thing that most people forget is like she's healthy now, and I think now that she's getting healthy, we're gonna really get to see how special she really is.
Alex, is anybody going to beat Panther Creek? And if there is somebody, what team from Charlotte do you think would have the best chance?
I think it's going to be very, very tough. It's going to be a formidable challenge for anyone coming out of the East. Panther Creek playing very, very well with Taylor Varner, the Memphis commit, and
East.
she's very, very good. Point wing post, Taylor Varner point, Olivia Tucker, who has committed to Campbell on the wing, and Kirsten Smalls in the post, a 6-footer. Kirsten Smalls is a 2-sport athlete in the winter.
Wow.
On Friday, February 10th, she missed Panther Creek's visit to Apex Friendship. And why did she miss it? Because she was in Winston-Salem, where she repeated as the 4A indoor track and field high jump state champion.
Yeah, they got some serious athletes on Panther Creek. That's one of the fastest teams I've seen. But you didn't answer my question. What team from Charlotte could match up the best with them in the state final?
I think probably Mallard Creek.
Mallard Creek's never won a state championship. I think if they're going to win one, this is the year. And I do agree with you. I think they're the team that can match up with Panther Creek with the speed. El Stone, Lily Booker, the coaching power that Mallard Creek has. I think that would be one heck of a matchup. But it's going to be really tough to come out of that West. I mean, you're going to have to deal with my favorite left-hander over there, Lake Norman. They're going to be tough. But, Rick, tell us about the boys' players of the week.
Well, the first thing that stands out about this list is every one of these players had outstanding games, but they were instrumental in the team success as far as winning. The first one is 6'3" unsigned senior Trey Maxwell of North Mecklenburg. We stated in the last show that North Meck is not a one-trick pony, and Trey Maxwell ended up with 27 points, including 5 3-pointers in the win over Chambers at Chambers. And then in the third quarter, Chambers tied it up and took the lead briefly for about, 2 points, and then Trey Maxwell took over. In another important game, Butler went to play Charlotte Catholic. Butler won the game, maintained first place in their conference at 10-1. Tyler Showalter again had a great game of 18 points. So instrumental in Butler's success this season and also the win against a very competitive Charlotte Catholic team. Next up is Sir Muhammad, the 6'6" Notre Dame signee. On Tuesday night, he had 22 points and a big road win at Audrey Cale. I thought that was going to be their last tough road game. The one thing about Sir Muhammad that doesn't always show up on the stat sheet, and RC will agree with this, he's one of the best defenders in the state. At 6'6", has a muscular frame, and he can really, really defend. Yeah. Next up, we have, to me, the stir that stirs a drink for Lake Norman, and Lake Norman has a lot of balance. But 5'11", Nick Arnold, he's a sophomore. On Tuesday night, they went on the road and played Hickory Ridge. He almost had a triple-double. He had 11 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. And then last night on the road at Cox Mill, he had 15 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, and 3 steals. And, for a 5'11" point guard, he's one of the best rebounding guards in the state. And next up, in a game that went into overtime, a big game to keep South Meck in contention for a really high seed in the 4A because they're highly ranked. They've had a tremendous season. They're sitting at 20-3. Peter Moy had 21 points. The game went into overtime, and they were victorious for the particular win last night.
Yeah, Peter, pretty impressive season for you guys. We were talking a little bit in the pre-show. How are you guys able to turn it around in such a big manner in one season?
We just had to believe in ourselves because nobody thought we could do it, I mean, we had other coaches saying that we were going to win 7 games. So really just believing in ourselves.
What does Coach McDonald put into you guys? Because I mean, you guys just been dynamite. I mean, went down to Richmond, gave them a fit, giving everybody a fit really this year and having just a phenomenal season.
I mean, he just makes us play with energy and effort all the time because, like Coach Lewis said, we lost to Barry, and that was a bad loss. We didn't bring it that night, so we got to bring energy and effort every night.
Yeah. Now you're off this week. You got Mars Park on Friday. What do you have to do to stun the world, or to pull off the big upset and beat the top team in the state?
We don't have to hit a lot of threes, I think. Drive and kick, because their defense is really good.
Yeah. Randall, what you see out of this young man? What you got for him?
I'm a big fan of Peter Moore, and I think it's not just because he can really score the basketball. It's because he plays so hard and he competes. And I'm all about players that will compete on both sides of the ball. He's not just a kid that's just, I want to score. I've been very impressed with how he defends and his toughness and just how aggressive he is on the floor.
Is that true, Peter? You just don't want to score? Because every time I look up, he's scoring 30.
Man, I like to score, but definitely get my teammates involved too.
Peter, you stated that a lot of coaches didn't think you guys were going to win maybe 7 games this year. What were your expectations coming into the season? Have you exceeded those expectations?
Yeah, for me, I think it was like 15, 17 wins. I didn't know we'd be getting to 20, but it's awesome.
What's been the reaction at school? Because, South Memphis had a number of down seasons. I mean, at one point, they were probably the best. Back in the 70s, they were the best team in the state. What's been the reaction, though, from the students to, see the basketball team winning the way it is?
I mean, a lot more people want to come to games now, so it's really good.
And how does that make you feel to see the big crowd? Because you've seen it the other way, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's awesome. Like last night, it was pretty much sold out. It was just packed house.
Does that make you guys play better, make you a little nervous at first, and then you get used to it? How does that work?
Yeah, maybe a little nervous, but once you get out there, you get used to it.
Yeah. Well, Peter, man, thanks for coming on with us. Good luck in the playoffs. Good luck against Mars Park on Friday first, and good luck in the playoffs, and hopefully we get you back on the show soon.
Man, thank y'all for having me.
Absolutely, man. Good luck to you.
See you.
All right. That's Peter Moy from South Mech. Randall, you talked about Sir Muhammad, and you said what did you see this week out of him?
Sir was really good this week. I think it's funny, going back to my same point with L, is he finally looked healthy. He looked like himself. It was a close game at Audrey Kell, a 6-point game, and he kind of took it over on both ends of the floor. He was attacking the basket offensively. Got a big block on the defensive end and a big rebound to push the break. And so, my biggest thing is that he finally looks healthy. And, this is the time of year where you want to be playing your best basketball. I think he's going to be rounding in the form here this next week.
Yeah, Alex, I was looking at these teams that Rick picked out. You got a lot of heavyweights on the 4A Western side of the bracket. I know there's some good teams down in Winston-Salem too. What team in the East is going to have a chance against any of these 4A heavyweights this year?
Well, it all begins with getting there. You got to get there to have a chance. And in terms of who can get there, Richmond County obviously will be in the mix. Richmond County
got a guy who's 470.
And Richmond County also is the alma mater of South Mecklenburg coach Chris McDonald, who Peter just spoke of, the fantastic job Coach McDonald has done with the Sabres. And Coach McDonald actually was a high school teammate of Richmond senior coach Donald Bootsy Pettigrew. They both were starting wings.
Bootsy wear the star glasses?
We might have to break out some Bootsy Collins music for Langston here. But
Rick has no idea what we're talking about. Rick, like, what are they talking about?
But Coach McDonald and Coach Pettigrew were teammates on Richmond's 1995-96 state runner-up team. So a great legacy there and connection.
Who beat that team, Randall? I mean, Alex, who beat them in the state finals?
Greensboro Dudley, 76-68 in overtime. Vincent Witt, who went on
to not that one. Not that one.
Vincent Witt, who went on to Clemson.
You gonna skip my question.
But no, what was the question?
I said, who beat them in the state championship game?
Dudley.
Richmond. Bootsy.
Oh, Dudley beat him.
Independence beat him.
No. McDonald and Pettigrew were teammates in 95-96.
No, but I'm talking about 97.
McDonald graduated in 96.
Pettigrew
Pettigrew was back in 97.
Yeah.
Richmond Independence beat Richmond 82-80
Yeah,
in
Pettigrew
that
went
game.
nuts in that game. He had a bunch of
Pettigrew went nuts. Scott Lilly had 21 points. Joby Thomas was the MVP with
There we go. I just wanted you to come around to Joby. Come around to my man Joby. Come around.
Joby Thomas had 16 points. Gordon Tucker, who's an assistant coach for Independence, was a starter on that team, and also on that team was a sophomore named Preston Davis.
6'10".
Yes, he was. Yeah. Yes, he was. That was Tony Huggins' first season at Independence after he succeeded Dean Dreibelbus as the coach. Independence was 28-3 that year.
And what is Dean's brother? Who is Dean's brother?
Mark Dreibelbus, retired associate commissioner of the North Carolina High School Athletic Association, and actually is back in an interim capacity right now.
Alex, I wish I could have his memory. Like the way he just does this off the top of the head is truly amazing.
That's why I was egging him on. I just want him to show off his knowledge. Alex is just like, he has a photograph. If Alex looks at a piece of paper, he can memorize like the whole thing. And the thing about it is he retains it. It's like, it's incredible.
Unbelievable.
I've never in my life met a person that has a memory he does. I mean, he's like he's a walking dictionary, encyclopedia, exactly. All in one. It's nuts. Randall, girls' games of the week.
Well, I think this final week for public schools this week, it's going to be very interesting. You got Barry at Myers Park. Myers Park going to go ahead and try to sew this thing up. And like we talked about with Jaron, a great season for them so far.
How many conference championships would that be for Barbara if she won? Like 95?
Yeah, it seems about right. That seems about right. We start the independent school playoffs this week. Cannon has a bye all the way up until Saturday as the number one seed around this area. So it'll be interesting to see who they play and who goes to visit them on Saturday. Yeah. Independence at Butler. This was a game earlier in the season that I was able to go to. It was close for a little while. Independence was able to bust it open at the end. It'll be, we'll see how Butler responds, especially coming off a tough loss last week to Charlotte Catholic. Hickory Ridge and West Cabarrus, two teams that match up very well against each other. Yep, and it's right next door, and it's for sure that's a rivalry game. So I'm sure it's going to be competitive.
Shout out to Londa Rose, who's one of the best coaches around here.
Yeah, they're gonna get after it. And then in another rivalry game, we got Marvin Ridge at Weddington. Weddington gonna try to protect home court in this one. So really, some really good games to finish out the season.
Marvin Ridge, Porter Ridge tied for first place going into that last game, and Porter Ridge plays Sun Valley, so it could be a two-way tie. And then I guess they do coin flips, or whatever, to determine who gets to bye in the conference tournament. So it should be definitely interesting. Alex, the private school championships up your way in Raleigh in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to that. Camden Providence Day in the finals, maybe.
I can see that certainly happening. The big show in the independent schools on the girls' side actually will be in the 2A classification, as we see Sarah Strong close her career.
But isn't that a wrap? Just give her the trophy.
Well, things look very good. Things do look very good.
Did anybody come in 20 points to them this year?
The point I'm making is that this is an opportunity 25 years after that 98-99 West Charlotte team for us to enjoy the greatness that we're watching.
Oh, absolutely.
As she closes,
I've never seen her play in person. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
She's very, very, very impressive. And when they are challenged, it goes to another gear.
I have a question, Randall. Where is Sarah Strong going to college?
No, we're not playing this game with you. I'm not playing this game with you right now. I will tell you this. Hold on. For those of you watching on camera, me and Randall have this conversation quite a bit. But go ahead, Randall. I will tell you this: that New Goat was in attendance on Sarah's senior night last week. New Goat did.
Who is New Goat? Just so the people know, who is New Goat?
The coach over in Columbia that you love so much.
Dawn
So she
Staley.
was in attendance. So I think we're about a month out from Sarah deciding where she's gonna go, and there's a
Sarah
lot of
goes to
schools.
South Carolina, boy.
Listen, there's a couple places where she goes, things get very, very interesting. So I'm just excited to see
No,
where
but
she
you
ends.
told me that LSU was going to be the team this year, and New Ghost undefeated. I don't know.
That was more just out of spite for you and having to hear you talk about South Carolina on a daily basis.
You're going to continue to hear it. She is the best. I think the only reason why she won't really become the GOAT, I think she'll get out of women's basketball. I think she'll be coaching the men's team eventually. Rick, boys, games of the week.
Well, first of all, you have the game between South Meck and Myers Park, and kudos to Chris McDonald. He's done a fabulous job at South Meck. At 20-3, he's 7-2 in the conference, and also, congratulations to Scott Taylor. They've won 16 straight games.
16.
16 straight games, and he has played one of the strongest strength of schedules in the state of North Carolina. And they're 20-2, 8-0 in the conference, and that game at home is going to be very special to Bishop, Boswell, Sir Muhammad. So, that's going to be a tough game for South Meck. But South Meck, that being said, will have a high seed in the NCHSAA 4A playoffs. The next game is Independence at Butler. And again, I think, two coaches that is also under the radar, Preston Davis and Patrick King at Butler. Independence is 17-5, 9-1. Butler is 15-7, 10-1. So this basically is for the Southwestern 4A championship. Early in the season, Butler played Independence at Independence and lost by 9. So this is going to be the game that should determine the 4A Southwestern championship. That'll be a good one. Next up is Marvin Ridge at Weddington. We all knew Gary Ellington was a great coach.
Yes.
For them to be 21-1, I don't think anyone even expected them to be at that particular record, even with Gary Ellington back this year. But he's done a phenomenal job again. His only loss came to the Burlington School at one of our events, and they're very highly seated in the playoff. Next up is Kings Mountain at Crest, and they're in the I think it's the which conference? The Big South 3A.
Yes, a little bit out of area, but definitely close.
This is probably one of the toughest 3A conferences in the state. You have Crest, Kings Mountain, Ashbrook is also in there, so this will be to help determine the conference championship there. And then the other game, we have Central Bears. They have won like 55 straight games. They're at J.M. Robinson. J.M. Robinson 16-5 and 12-2 in the conference. That being said, earlier in the season, J.M. Robinson lost by 51 points to Central Bears at Central Bears. So, this is a juggernaut at Central Bears, and I just don't see anyone really coming close to them. The only one I can see that might give them a problem will be Hickory in the playoffs.
Yeah, and then you got the private school starting on Tuesday, Thursday. Any predictions on who might run out to the quarterfinals?
I tell you, this year, I think the private school league is so balanced. I mean, you look at the 4A, and we've discussed this in the past. I was saying Christ School and Cannon, but you also have schools like, Covenant Day has had a really, really good year. Providence Day is there. So, I think that's going to be wide open. The 3A, I think the favorite right now has to be High Point Christian. You got Forsyth Country Day. Also, you have Concord First Assembly. Yeah. So I think that's going to be wide open. And then the 2A, Burlington School looked like they were the team to beat. They sort of fallen off a little bit the last 2 to 3 weeks, but I think that's wide open, especially with Trinity. You also have Caldwell Academy, who's really coming on strong. Yeah. And then the 1A, I think, basically will come down to 3 teams. That's going to be Northside Christian, United Faith, and also Victory Christian.
Well, Northside be hurt, Rick, but, they had to fight at Hickory Ridge. They took off the last 4 weeks this season. Will they get, that rust versus rest thing? Will that hurt them, you think, coming back?
I think they'll use it as motivation more than anything else, and they'll be anxious to play. I think that's the key there, and I don't think it's going to hurt them as many people will think.
Okay. All right. Well, it's time for the roundtable. Okay, I'm going to go off script just a little bit from what I sent you guys. I wanted to get your thoughts on, because we talked about this in our text chat. Coach of the year, should that go to Rick? Should that go to the person with the best record or somebody with the best season? Somebody who really turned their team around one year to the next. I think a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this as anybody, we look at, oh, he won the state championship, or oh, he won the regionals, and that the guy's is automatic, or woman is automatically coach of the year. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think sometimes we sort of forget about the coach that may not have the same amount of talent as somebody else, and then they far achieve above expectations. And a good example is South Mac coach McDonald. A lot of people only have them, maybe winning 7 or 8 games. They're standing 20-3. He's done an outstanding job at South Mecklenburg. Also, again, we mentioned Gary Ellington. They're 21-1. No one expected that. Grant Hodges at Lake Norman, 21-1. We figured them to be good, but they sort of exceeded expectations. But then again, you also have to give credit to people like Scott Taylor, who is 20-2. They played a highly competitive schedule, and I know he has more talent, but it also is not easy coaching talent. So I think it depends on the criteria that we want to use. But when you put it all, all together, and another one on the private school sector is Michael Laney. Look what he's done at Covenant Day. He's basically turned.
Nobody saw that coming. Nobody saw that.
I think it depends. I think it depends on a year-to-year basis. I don't think there's an issue going with either criteria. I think you just have to be clear with what the criteria is. I think last year, I know on the girls' side, Coach McKenzie won it, and she had a lot of talent at Lake Norman. We knew they were going to be good. We didn't know how good they were going to be, and they made a great run to the state championship game, and she was coach of the year. But again, like this year, you have a coach like Coach Bridges who takes over a Country Day program where they go from being 10-16 to basically the opposite of that.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I was thinking about. Is that Country Day's girls is just gone.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I mean, complete role reversal. And I think, you just have to be clear with the criteria. I agree with everything Coach Rick said.
Talking about criteria, you and Rick picked the thing. It was your criteria.
And I feel sorry for Coach Rick because it's going to be hard to pick Coach of the Year because like he made arguments for like 3-4 different coaches. I mean, you got Ellington at Weddington, who's done a phenomenal job. They've only lost once. You got Scott Taylor, who lost twice, but he played one of the craziest non-conference schedules we've seen. You got Laney, who took over a program at Covenant Day that was left for dead, and he's turned that thing right around. I mean, we have
Grant Hodges.
Coach Hodges up there. And, you got some coaches that have really done a terrific job. Coach McDonald as well. It's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard to pick Coach of the Year this year. So.
The good silver lining behind it all is we have a lot of quality coaches in the area.
Absolutely. Alex, same question.
Everything that everyone has said, I agree. And I think my big thing on Coach of the Year is whichever direction you go, to be able to quantify what they did. That can be with someone turning a program around. Mm-hmm. So you go from a losing record to getting someone to the state playoffs, like the case of Coach Bridges at Country Day. That could be someone taking a program with some pieces like Coach McDonald has done at South Mecklenburg, and knowing the conference that they're in, which is a formidable challenge, but putting them in a position for a higher seed in the state playoffs. Yeah. Or that could be, and I'll use this example since this is the 25th anniversary season of the 98-99 West Charlotte team. That could be someone like a Rusty White.
He won that year.
Taking all of that talent and optimizing it in terms of elite talent performing at an elite level. A lot of people don't remember, yes, that team was just loaded with talent, but there were a number of powerful teams in Charlotte. You had Olympic with George Leach. You had East Mecklenburg with Ray Henderson. North Mecklenburg is always good in the mix there. So there were really, really good teams in Mecklenburg County, and West Charlotte rolled through them on the way to the state title. So any one of those ways is legit, just so long as you quantify what did they do for this distinction.
I just think a lot of times we get to the end of the season, it's just the last thing we saw. Like the private schools are in 2 weeks before, and the public schools went out, and so you just got to be the public school guy because this last thing you saw. And I think that's the case even when we pick. And I'm guilty of it, and I got to do a better job. And I just need Rick and Randall to hold me accountable when we go out to Red Robin and wherever it is we go meet, North Lake Mall. Y'all to come join us. Randall gets pizza in Red Robin, which blows my mind. But when we go out and pick it, so that's just something we got do a little bit better job of, is remembering the regular season guys, because I'm a person who thinks the regular season is more important than what you do in a 2-game conference tournament. All right, Alex, since you're there, this is the original question we had. A conference tournament still necessary for high school sports?
Still necessary?
Go ahead, Alex. Get it out.
Still necessary. You said still necessary?
Were they ever necessary?
Were they ever necessary?
Yeah.
No. In line with what Langston just said, I'm a regular season guy because, once again, the body of work over 2 months, not 2 days, is the primary reason. And the secondary reason is that precluding conference tournaments will open the door for a fun pre-state tournament event like the Langston Wirtz Invitational, which for all of you who do not know, and that's only people who haven't been paying attention to the Charlotte Observer for the last 30 years.
That's true.
What we're talking about there is some form of a city-county championship. I think that will be great in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. It will be great in Raleigh-Wake County. There are a lot of places that could work.
No, it would make a lot of money for the schools too. Gary was actually going to be on this week to talk about it. Gary has a really good plan. I kind of teased to it. We'll try and do it next week when Gary's here to kind of lay out his plan. But yes, I think doing a city county championship in Charlotte would be great for the fans. It would fill up whatever arena you put it in, Independence, shouldn't call it UNC Charlotte 49ers, wherever you want to put it, Davidson. It would fill up the arena, make a lot of money for the schools that desperately need it, and give the fans something to look forward to. And like I said, I think you honor your all-conference players at that venue in front of everybody. Let them all see it and come get your trophies, whatever it is you're going to get. All right, Randall, same question. Conference tournaments necessary or not?
I love conference tournaments. I know Coach Rick and Alex are going to disagree with me, but I love them. I'm a fan of them. If we had a city championship, I would.
It's like the old record with a groove on it. And it just keeps skipping.
I would go with it. But hey, listen. And last time we had this discussion, I remember the Southwestern 4A ended up going completely up. Charlotte Catholic on the boys' side turned that thing completely upside down.
Once every 25 years.
Hey, look, it's gonna happen again this year. I know it's gonna happen this year on the boys' side. Butler, Independence, Catholic, you can only have one of them win. And you can't tell me which one's going to win it right now. Exactly. Thank you. My point exactly. And this is why. And this is why we can't. It's fun. It makes for a
I know what fans would
fun Friday night.
All right,
okay.
Richard.
That's fair.
I'm in agreement with Alex. I think sometimes when you do have a conference tournament, you do have the possibility of some of your better teams within that conference. You could play that opponent up to 4 times, twice during the regular season, once in the conference tournament, and a lot of times you may play that team in the sectional tournament. So, playing one team 4 times out of the scope of the schedule, I think is uncalled for. I would like to see the teams that can branch out and play a tougher strength of schedule that will make it more exciting for the fans and the coaches and the players.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that's something that definitely should and could happen. I just think conference tournaments too often. I know Randall's picking out the one that might be different, but if you went around the western part of the state, you could almost pick who's going to be in the semifinals right now and just skip the first round. It's and in the girls' side, we're just gonna have another sea of blowouts on that Monday or Tuesday, whichever is the first day.
And usually those first round games, there's not very many people attend those anyway.
Oh, not many. There's none.
And you really think
no, you shouldn't get blowouts because you're gonna have your top teams will have a bye that first.
Not necessarily, depending on if you're talking about an 18 conference or a 6 or 17 conference. And then the other thing you got to realize with conference tournaments is you start getting into which scheduling configuration do you use? Are boys and girls at the same site or boys and girls at opposite sites? If boys and girls are at opposite sites, then money is being lost on some of those quarterfinal games. So
1,020. Yeah. There's some of the conferences in Charlotte go same site, and then some of them go different days, like be girls Monday, boys Tuesday, girls Wednesday, boys Thursday, and there's nobody there on Mondays and Wednesdays. To Alex's point, if we had a city championship, I think you have fans there most every night. But anyway, it's time for Who Balled Out. Let me call it. We're gonna start with your guy, Sir Muhammad.
Yeah.
I'll let you
Yes,
talk.
sir. Big night for him Tuesday night. Oh, just pushing the break, gets there. Had 5 dunks.
I didn't know he could do
that. 5 dunks Tuesday night, and I don't know if we're ever gonna see him do that again. That's for sure.
Go get that young fella. Go get that young fella. Sorry, that's not Sir. That's somebody else.
No, this was the one right here. That one got me on my feet. That one got me on my feet for sure.
Tell you what, though, Audrey Kell kept this score close. Though, look at these scores.
They did. They competed hard until the last 4 minutes.
I saw Sir attack the basket like that against Christ School in the John Wall Holiday Invitational. He didn't finish with dunks, but finished with strong plays inside, either right inside the paint or deep in, and finish strongly at the basket. Yeah, he can do that really well.
Rick, here's your guy. Trey Maxwell had a big game for North Mac on Friday night, but here's some highlights from early in the season.
Well, the thing about Trey is he's really good in catch and shoot. He moves well without the basket. When he comes off a down screen, he sets his feet really good. He makes the inside pivot, 1-2, and the shot goes up. But
give me all 3 of them.
He has that quick release.
Yeah, no, he's a special player. Lanice Joseph Randall got an ACC offer as a freshman from Wake Forest. Highlights are very brief, but she's really a beast down low. Look at that. I mean, she's going to be special for North Mac.
Got her first ACC offer and followed up with a 20.
I found him on my line.
There we go.
She's having a big season.
I mean, her and Kiara out there. Holy
I heard
smokes.
Randall say they're the best 1-2 punch in the state. Now I know we're gonna hear from Molly Creek on Monday.
Yes, we are certainly going to hear from them.
You said it, but Emma's really nice.
Hey, listen, I mentioned Molly Creek's 1-2 punch when I mentioned them, so stop.
Emma's really. Emma's really. I'm always trying to stir stuff.
Someone might be asking RC on how to spell their name.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny, Coach Rick.
Little side joke. If you balled out and you want to be featured, send your clips to Observer Preps on Twitter. You can also send it to Observer Sports on Instagram. And we definitely want to get you on to feature on Who Balled Out. We had a short segment this week because I didn't have enough time to track down film. But yeah, well, Brandon, I'm just trying to stir stuff up, man. I'm not trying to get you.
Oh, listen, what you do, it does not bother me at all. I know exactly what you're up to.
Randall's known me too long. He knows what I'm up to. All right, Alex, it's time for you to host Coach versus Coach. So I'm going to get out of here.
Well, first off, pardon that introduction right there. I am nowhere near the level of Christy Mitchell. So let's just clarify that right now. And as we know, Gary Richmond isn't with us today, but we have the one and only Rick Lewis to go head to head with Mr. Randall Clark. So let's get going here. All right, so the first question we got. All right, so we know the ACC is in a state of flux, but it was announced recently that the ACC tournament is going to be in North Carolina, Charlotte, Greensboro, in various years from 2025 through 29. Is this the right move? Randall, you want to start us?
100%, that's the right move. I don't like watching the ACC tournament in New York. I don't want to see the ACC tournament in Washington, D.C. There's not the vested interest that it is when it's in North Carolina. From the state of fans, from State, from Duke, from Carolina to Wake, you got a lot of people that attend these games when they're in state, and it gives people the opportunity that sometimes don't get to see these schools in person to get to go watch them. But the ACC tournament is a North Carolina staple, and I think it should always be here.
Just from body language, looks like you're going to agree, Rick.
Absolutely. If you look at the Big East, they always have it at Madison Square Garden. They don't venture out and try to put it in another location. North Carolina is the mecca of the ACC, and it's also geographically located. Just think about it. You have 4 schools in North Carolina, 2 in Virginia, 1 in South Carolina. You got Georgia. So if you look at, we've expanded to Florida and also up to Boston College and Pittsburgh and that particular area. North Carolina is right in the middle of all of it. And also, you're not going to get the fan interest anywhere else as you do in ACC country, which is the Tar Heel State.
Everybody out there, you just heard the gospel of the ACC tournament from Randall and Rick. You do not contradict the gospel on that. I certainly am not going to contradict that gospel. I will just say before we move on, we may as well stay in North Carolina because with Jim Boeheim retired, now we don't have to worry about making sure that he can go to Denny's. So, okay. Speaking of the ACC tournament, UNC and Duke at the foundation of the ACC. We all knew that Roy Williams and Mike Krzyzewski would not coach forever. Both programs have transitioned. Will Hubert Davis and John Shire be able to keep the Tar Heels and the Blue Devils relevant and thriving into the future? Start us off, Rick.
I do. I think that the main reason why is to be successful at the collegiate level, the number one thing that you have to do is recruit. Both Hubert Davis and John Shire are excellent recruiters. The flip side is basically both of them took over 2 blue blood programs at a time where the NCAA is an influx. You have the transfer portal and you also have the NIL. And that has really led to a lot of coaches, whether it was Villanova, Roy Williams, Coach K, a lot of these people, age, whatever, are getting out of the business. So, you have 2 people that played in the program. They learned from the best. And to some degree, they're doing a great job on the recruiting trail, and they're going to learn on the job. And, some people go, well, you shouldn't have to learn on the job at UNC and Duke. Let's just go back and learn that Coach K, when he came to Duke, he learned on the job. He wasn't successful early on. And the same thing was true with Dean Smith. He wasn't successful early on. So I do think that those 2 guys will keep UNC and Duke prevalent.
Randall?
No. Carolina will not be relevant if Hubert Davis remains the coach over there. He does do a great job of recruiting, but I've never heard a North Carolina fan come to me and say, Hubert Davis is a really, really good basketball coach. I think I don't see it happening. If they don't win this year, the expectation is Elite 8 at least. At worst case scenario, their expectations are Elite 8. And so they're going to have to make that run. I think Shire gets a little bit more leeway just because of his recruiting classes coming in. He's recruiting and he's got these high profile guys coming in. But as a Duke fan, now it becomes, are you going to be able to win with these guys, or are we getting ready to turn into the Kentucky of the South? Are we just going to get, some of the top players, a bunch of one and done guys and not have anything to show for it?
Great points by Rick and Randall. And I just want to remind everyone to the points that they both made. You're dealing with completely different territories here. Dean Smith and Mike Krzyzewski took over solid programs that had not become elite. You're asking Hubert Davis and John Shire to take elite programs from the get-go. So great points by Rick and Randall there on both of them.
But Alex, the thing about it is, no matter who takes over an elite program, they're going to be under a microscope, and they're going to be criticized. No matter what they do. And yeah, there's a lot of Carolina fans will complain about Hubert when they lose the game, but you know what? They did the same thing when Roy Williams was there. He would lose, and I would see Carolina fans complain. The same thing with Duke fans. I mean, fans are going to be critical when their team is not winning.
My belief is always I never wanted to be the guy behind the guy. Right. I wanted to be second in line. I didn't want to be first in line because I just think the pressure is too great. I will commend both of them, though. They have done an outstanding job given the circumstances and the states of the programs that they took over. Very impressive so far, even though I know, like Coach Rick said, fans aren't always happy.
Everybody here, notice on the screen that I am beside Rick Lewis and Randall Clark. No way in the world am I coming behind these two gentlemen. You can forget that.
Well,
so
and Alex, one more thing, and I mentioned it earlier. I think we live in a different age because college sports is at a different level, and it's going to be a learning process no matter who you are. And I think even the very best coaches out there are learning how to navigate through the portal and also the NIL.
100%.
And there you have it. The preaching and teaching continues. The gospel of Rick and Randall. And I'm not contradicting it. Moving right along here. Last question of the day. So back to the high school game here. So first time ever, we're going to have a Final Four like atmosphere instead of Eastern Regional, Western Regional, and then everyone meets in the state final. So a week-long, 6-day event with state semifinals and finals at one site, the Lawrence Joel Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Winston-Salem. Fan or not? And comments along with it. Randall, start us off.
I'm a fan as long as we can spread it out correctly. I want to be sure that we get the chance to recognize these young men and women who have done a phenomenal job of making it to a state final. It's a big deal, and to win a state semifinal and immediately have to turn around and play a state final just wouldn't be doing them justice. So as long as it's spread out properly to where every team gets to enjoy the moment and really soak in what it's like to play in a state final, I think that would be my only question mark.
And before Rick speaks, just to clarify for everyone what Randall said, the format, if you are in a semifinal on Monday or Tuesday, your state final will be on Friday. If you are in a semifinal on Wednesday or Thursday, your state final will be on Saturday. So just to clarify that, and let's go to Coach Rick.
I'm in favor of it. I remember some time ago when, growing up is like the state championship, and it was said all roads lead to Lawrence Joel Coliseum. It's a destination that everybody wants to go to. And I think also having it one location is great for the fans and it's great for the sport. And I like the idea of Winston-Salem. It's centrally geographically located, but I'm 100% for it. And I think Randall made some great points there.
And the last thing I'll ask, just a little off script, but in line with this, if we get a powerhouse semifinal matchup, because we're talking about some of these semifinal games that can be shown for the whole state on the same level. We have it in the East and the West. We all know that. And we all know how packed some of these games were last year leading up to the state finals. Is it a far-fetched idea to think that the Lawrence Joel Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Winston-Salem could be the site of a sellout for a state semifinal, say Myers Park versus North Mecklenburg.
Crazy how you came up with that one, Alex.
Could this environment, this format, this setup make something like that into a reality should the bracket work out? Rick?
Absolutely. And if it does happen, I do think it will be close to a capacity because you'll have other games and going on at the same time. So, it will create interest. And I think the other thing too is for the public school setting to have a semifinal game at Lawrence Joel with say 15,000 people is something that this public schools can have a great selling point over private schools or non-association schools. To play in that kind of environment is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Randall?
100%, I agree. I definitely think we could be at capacity or sell it out if we were to get a matchup of that stature for sure. And I think it would be an amazing environment for the players and something that they would remember forever.
What has to happen for that?
Take the words Randall just said right there. 100% agree. Well, you just had the 100% basketball gospel truth from Rick Lewis and Randall Clark.
What Alex? What has to happen for that to be a possibility? What should fans be looking for in terms of when the parents come out next week?
Okay, what fans should be looking for, very very simply, okay, unless something crazy happens, both North Mecklenburg and Myers Park, to use an example, are guaranteed to be among the top 9 seeds, probably a little higher on that, but they're going to. It looks as though they're going to win their regular seasons.
Right.
And then we have to work RPIs and max prep rankings and figure that out. But what you should be looking for, take those 2 teams, for instance. If one of them is seeded first, then the other needs to be 2, 3, 6, or 7. Basically, what you have to realize is we're talking state semifinals. So 1-4 would be a quarter, 2-3 would be a quarter. So you don't want 1 and 4 because they would meet before the semis. You don't want 2 and 3 because they would meet before the semis. So if one of them's 1, the other needs to be 2 or 3 or 6 or 7. If one of them's 2, then the other needs to be 1, 4, 5. That's what you have to pay attention to because that's the game that we want in Winston-Salem. We all talk all the time about one high school to another. We all know that some gyms are larger than others, and the last thing we ever want to see for a game like this is that people don't get to watch it because as Rick and Randall said, that this could be a huge treat for the state. So watch for those numbers.
The parents come out next Saturday, and maybe I can get you guys on and we do like the spaces when the parents come out and just discuss it, get some coaches on and get people's different.
It'll be another Saturday.
Huh? Yeah, guys, right now,
2 Saturdays. I'm sorry.
And now, I looked at the state RPI rankings.
Yeah.
The way it is right now, Lake Norman has the number 1 seed. Yeah. That's not going to change. I think they're going to run the table.
Right.
Number 2 is Myers Park. They're going to run the table.
Right.
Number 3 is Weddington. I think they'll run the table. Number 4 and number 5, as far as the conference, will either be the 4 seed will be either like the Mount Tabor, Davie County Conference. The next conference will be North Meck. So North Meck right now will probably get the 4 or the 5 seed. And if all the high seeds went out accordingly, as projected, you're probably going to have the Final 4 in the West. You'll have Lake Norman 1, Myers Park 2, Weddington 3, North Meck 4. So you'll have a North Meck versus Lake Norman matchup, Weddington versus Myers Park. The winner of that game will play for the semifinals and a chance to go to the state.
All right, 2 things. You guys just gave a lot of teams a lot of ammunition. I don't know what just happened. You guys just gave the teams a lot of ammunition to really ball out now because you already calling who's going to make the Final 4. The second part,
we did not call who was going to make the Final 4. We played out a scenario.
No. I know, but I'm just telling you how people are going to look at
it would work. We played a scenario.
Remember what I'm talking about. Randall,
if it just projects out according to the seeding.
yeah. But the other thing is those regional semifinal games are going to be super packed, and gym's not big enough for those games as well. I mean, and Q can't solve everybody's problem.
No,
I'm saying that
absolutely not.
those games are going to be incredibly crowded. All right, we're going to put this.
There's also one more point on that.
One more point.
To Randall's point about conference tournaments. We're 2 weeks from seeding Saturday for the public school playoffs.
Yes.
The conference tournaments do play in to the RPIs. So keep that in mind. They do
But
play
what
in.
we're talking about, these teams will be number 1 seeds from their conference because the highest you can go as a conference tournament championship is number 2.
Exactly. They'll be number 1 seeds, but they need to continue winning for the RPI or the Max Preps ranking to hold as it is.
Chambers North Mech 3.
That could be
that could be a tough one. All right, we're gonna put a star on the show. This one shot. What you got around the final thoughts?
The next couple of weeks we get to see a bunch of seniors and they get to celebrate their senior night. And senior night is always a good time, always a time that's very memorable. But for those seniors, yes, it's your senior night, but that also means that it's getting ready to be the end of your high school career and high school season. And you always want to finish it strong. Leave it all on the floor, battle, compete, do whatever your team needs for you to win night in and night out so you can continue to survive and move on.
No, that's a great point. And some great players definitely going out. I want to thank you guys for joining us on Talking Preps. We'll be back next week, hopefully with our full crew to discuss conference tournament week, which Alex doesn't like. And then we'll try to get the guys maybe do a special show on seeding Saturday in 2 weeks. I was wrong about that. Thanks, Alex, for correcting me. That's Randall Clark, best trainer I know, Rick Lewis, #1 voice of high school sports, and Alex Bass, the contrarian. I'm Langston, and we are Talking Preps.